Are you committed to nurturing a culture of appreciation and recognition at work, but you're not quite sure what to do or where to start, or why the things you've been trying never seem to take off and have the impact that you hope? Well, in this video, we're going to explore those questions and more and talk about a few things that you can do to begin to shift it. Hi, I'm Chris Littlefield. I'm the founder of a company called Beyond Thank You. I've spent the better part of 15 years training senior managers, and even individual contributors across 6 continents how to have the conversations that matter most at work. And one of the skills that I focus on helping people develop is how to nurture a culture of appreciation and recognition. Let's jump in. So there's no shortage of research on why recognition is critical to the success of our companies. Research done by Gallup found that when companies were in the top quartile for recognition and engagement, they had higher productivity, they had higher profitability, they had higher customer and patient ratings, lower absenteeism, which makes sense because when people feel valued, they show up to work and do their best work, and lower turnover. Another study that was done by WorkProud found that in a hospital system with 13,000 nurses, when employees received no recognition, the turnover rate was 58%. When they received 16 recognitions a year, right, a little over once a month, it went down by nearly 25%. So it's no surprise that companies get it now. They get that it's important to invest in it, and that's why the employee recognition industry is estimated around $48 billion, with companies typically investing 1% to 2% of payroll a year on things like gold watches, awards, plaques, pins, award travel, gift cards, and all that other stuff, all with the goal to attract, motivate, and retain staff through recognition. Now, the question is, well, we're investing all this money, but how come we give our engagement surveys or our pulse surveys out at the end of the year or every couple months, and employees still say they don't feel recognized, they don't feel valued? So why is it that it's not working? And why is it that managers, even though they have all these amazing tools and resources to be able to use, still don't have some of those day-to-day conversations that probably in HR or whatever role you're in, make the biggest difference? So let's explore why that may be. Now, the first question we need to explore is who owns employee recognition in your organization? Now, when I ask that in my leadership trainings and at HR conferences that I'm speaking at, people go HR or compensation and benefits if it's a bigger organization. And I'll go, do you see any problem with that? And people just kind of sit there. And I go, the problem is if leaders and people in an organization see recognition as an HR thing, as a compensation and benefits thing, then they're not seeing it as something that I'm responsible for. They're seeing it as a program that I participate in. Now, there's a couple reasons why this tends to happen. And one of the biggest ones that is often a blind spot for most leaders and organizations is that many people have collapsed rewards and awards with recognition, where rewards and awards aren't recognition in and of themselves, but they're a delivery tool for a message. If you ever had somebody hand you a gift card and say, great job, or just kind of showed up on your desk one day, you're like, thanks, but what is this for? Because the meaning often comes in the message. And don't get me wrong, people often appreciate the gift card. They'll take the $15 Starbucks thing so they can buy one coffee these days. But the meaning actually comes in the message, in the recognition. And so because these two things are collapsed together, managers are led to believe that when they hand out the gift card, when they submit a nomination for Employee of the Month, when they give out a couple points in the system and they participate in the program that HR or compensation and benefits is reaching out to people about, then they feel like they have participated and completed their recognition obligation. And as you know, and as your employees have probably told you in your engagement surveys, that's not enough. And that's not what actually has people feel valued at work, which is the real goal that we're going for. So one of the first things we need to do, and what I do in my training programs, is to help leaders understand the difference between appreciating the person, acknowledging the circumstances, recognizing effort and progress, and then rewarding results and awarding standout results. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, check out my other video, Employee Recognition, What Every Leader Needs to Know, and I'll put a link to that in the video description below. Now, a couple of the issues we've already brought up is one is that managers think that they're participating in an HR or compensation and benefits initiative. And in order to address that, we need to first update their terminology so they understand the difference in terms, and then we need to shift it so people don't see it as something that HR and compensation and benefit owns, but something that we all own and we are all responsible for in the business. So how do we do that? Now, one of the first things we need to do is we need to work on shifting what we are talking about within our organization, specifically around recognition. Now, if you are in HR and in compensation benefits and you're responsible for the program, look back at your last 20 emails that went out. And what were you emphasizing? Were you emphasizing using the reward and award platform, or were you emphasizing day-to-day appreciation and recognition? And if you have been more focused over here, think about what could you do to put more of a focus on the things that people can do just to connect with one another in an easy way. Okay, whether it's questions that people can use in their meetings, things that they can do to connect with another, things that they can do to just step back and reflect about the wins that they've had over the last couple months on their teams. Think about how you shift your marketing away from the reward and award side. It doesn't mean you're not going to do it at all, but put more of an emphasis over here. Because what we talk about signals to people about what's important. And then this comes to what we need to do with senior leaders. Now, senior leaders have a disproportionate impact on the culture of our organizations. And this is why one of the trainings I do is how to create a culture of appreciation from the top, because senior leaders are the ones that create that culture and trickle it down to everybody else. I did one program over at a large furniture company, and I taught the concept of just ask people if they want to give shout outs in their senior meetings. And one senior leader gave a shout out in their meeting, and then a director used the same thing in their meeting, and then one of the managers used one in their meetings. That cost nothing. And it took seconds to implement, and now they're doing it in every meeting, because what senior leaders make time for in their meetings, in their one-on-ones, when they're walking around, trickles down to the rest of the organization about what's important. And if your senior leaders are taking time to value people, connect with people, ask questions, listen to people, and do those things that actually have people feel valued, well, guess what? People are going to take note, and they're going to start to do the same throughout the organization. Now, the last thing that we need to address is the bigger problem that people don't often talk about or even see. And it's the reason why trying to launch a recognition program is trying to launch a rocket without actually understanding gravity. And that's people's discomfort with recognition. When I did my original research, I interviewed 400 people on the subway in Boston and conducted thousands of surveys. And the number one thing people associate with being recognized is feeling valued, which makes sense. But I also found that nearly 70% of people associate embarrassment or discomfort with the process. And many of the times, people aren't even aware of it. They're not aware of when somebody recognizes them, why they go, oh, it's nothing, it's no big deal. But that's our discomfort with it. And because people aren't aware of it, many times that personal discomfort or the fear of making other people uncomfortable is what keeps us from actually having those simple interactions that make the biggest difference. And that's why many times people get so dependent on the rewards and awards program, because there's a form and something I submit and I can't get this wrong because I followed the process. But then by following the process, they don't do those day-to-day interactions that actually are the ones that make the biggest difference. So we need to help people get more comfortable with this by actually giving them some training to do it. When I did a survey on LinkedIn maybe 2 years ago, I think 400 or 500 people responded, and nearly 70% of people said that they had never received any training at all on recognition and appreciation throughout their careers. So we need to give people something to help them develop this skill, because we know it's critical to our business. You can always bring in someone like myself, or you can just create your own training. But what you want to do is you want to send a message to people that developing these skills, taking actions on these skills matters, both for their relationships with their people, for their departments, for the company, for the organization, because it allows us to nurture the kind of environment where people feel valued and where they do their best work. And if you do that and then follow up with regular nudges to appreciate people, to recognize people, and to reward and award when it makes sense, then you'll start to build that momentum. That rocket will start to lift off the ground a little bit, and you'll start to recognize that people just feel a little more valued, a little more appreciated every single day. I'm Chris Littlefield from Beyond Thank You, and if I can help you nurture culture appreciation within your organization, reach out to me at beyondthankyou.com. And if you enjoyed this video, or if you have questions, please put them in the comments below. And together, let's build cultures where people feel valued every day. Take care.